I just voted for Bernie Sanders, and in the state of Florida, you have to register within the party that you're going to vote because it's a closed primary. And so, if you want to vote for a Republican candidate that you like, you have to register as a Republican. And the same thing if you want to vote for a candidate uh, that's Democrat, even if you're not a Democrat or a Republican. Um, so I hear a lot of people especially from the right wing, using the usual fear mongering tactics of the right wing. That we're going to end up like Venezuela and Cuba if we go to democratic socialism. And here's a newsflash: the United States is a socialist democracy. It has been for a very long time, and it's just how much of it, and to what degree. So, just to tell you of a few socialist programs, the military is a program that comes with socialism. The politicians are paid because of democratic socialism. Because their salaries are paid by taxpayers, and they're elected democratically. And the hypocrisy of this right wing politicians is that they enjoy one of the most socialist and democratic socialist measures, in the form of the benefits that they get from getting the Cadillac health insurance that they get, paid for by us, to getting the socialist inspired vacation times that they get, all the benefits that they get. They can retire after, I think, it's one term. I mean, if that's not socialist, I don't know what is. So I mean, imagine and then, for example, there are a lot of people in high positions and political positions that they'll get an escort from the Secret Service for life. So that's paid for by society. It's a socialist program. Your emergency services, your roads, your paving of your roads, the constant, all the training and all the programs, Pell Grants, and all the educational funding that goes into training our professionals so that you can have teachers and policemen, and you can have scientists in government, the Centers for Disease Control, the people who do the planning, the people who do the permitting, your licensing agencies. I mean, it's endless, the programs that are funded by socialism in the United States and everywhere in the world. We would not have any type of response or progress in science and without a form of democratic socialism. So this business that democratic socialism is going to bankrupt the United States, it's horrendous. What's going to bankrupt the United States, and it's already doing so, is a form of socialism called neoliberalism, which is what Donald Trump is doing, which is and Republicans, the modern Republicans are doing, which is a form of corporate welfare where the people's tax money, everything that you pay in taxes, from I think it's like 60 cents on the per gallon, I think, goes to federal taxes when you fill up your tank. Look at your cell phone bill, that pays taxes. Your power bill pays taxes. Your mortgage pays taxes. Your tires, when you buy tires, pay taxes. Your oil, when you buy oil, pays taxes. I mean, in everything. The only way to not pay taxes is to live in the woods and drink rainwater and hunt your own food. But then you'll have to pay taxes. You have to pay taxes for the bullets and all that stuff. So people say, "Oh, democratic socialism." Look, man, the country's right now. We have a socialist economy that's way tilted towards the rich and the corporation. These corporations, we spent an enormous amount of money educating people so they can be at the service of this corporation, so that these corporations can exploit them and pay them shit money and not pay them benefits and nothing. Here we are paying for everything, for the road so that these workers can get to work. We pay for the teachers to get trained. We pay for the schools, for everything, all of that, so that this corporations can have the benefits of an educated workforce. Because people, you don't hit enter and download a bunch of education into people through a port in the back of their head. It takes years, sometimes 20 years, 18, 20 years, sometimes 30 years to educate a human being to put it at the service of a corporation, just so that the corporation gets full tax exemption, like that the Republicans just handed them. $1.5 trillion, 1.5 trillion dollars in tax. They just gave them to the rich. Jeff Bezos made 11 or 13 billion in 1 year. He paid zero taxes and he treats the workers like shit. Bunch of people committing suicide, living in the parking lot, in the car, because they can't afford, to live on what the shit that they get paid on. The same thing with the rest of the corporations. They're going to full automation. The Walmart empire, we give them $7 billion a year, seven, or I don't know how much, something like that, 6 or 7 last time I read. 80% of Walmart's workforce is funded. It's taxpayer funded, because 80% of their workforce does not qualify, to live on their own, because they're being, Walmart pays them shit money, so they're working full time and under the poverty level. So we, the taxpayer, have to fund Walmart's tax workforce, while at the same time Walmart's family, the Waltons, they're out there, they're worth $200 billion, and they pay this much in taxes. So how is that not corporate socialism? That's exactly what we're giving these people. Now, people don't have a problem doing that. They don't have a problem spending 60% of people. I'm talking about people on the right, that they have corporate socialism right now for the rich and the corporations. We spend 60% of discretionary spending, 60%, almost 60. It's outrageous. 57, 60 of discretionary spending of our budget on military spending. 720 some odd billion dollars was the last fucking, amount of money that we spent on I think it was last year, on military, on warfare. We have spent $14.3 trillion on warfare in the last, I think it's 20 years or something like that. And then it's not Pedro coming crossing the border to pick tomatoes that's making you broke. Okay? Is, the military industrial complex that's doing that. The war companies, they actually create wars so they can spend, just like the Bush father and Junior, both of them, those two wars, they cost us trillions of dollars, and they were both based on lies. There was no army at the border of Saudi Arabia. There was a doctor photograph, man. And nobody said shit. These are war criminals. There were hundreds of thousands of Iraqi people that were murdered in that war. They were civilians, most of them. We don't, and then all of a sudden they grab, a fucking gun or blow themselves up because they got nothing left to lose, and they're terrorists. Who's the real terrorist? When we continue to spend at this rate on corporate socialism, which is what we have right now. Dr. King said it best. We have very healthy socialism for the rich in this country and rugged individualism for the rest of us, for the poor. Survive on your own, but if you're really rich, we'll give you everything. So we need to flip that and give it to the people. Just to give you, I was looking at a chart that says how many jobs are created by investing by $1 billion per industry. So I think it was like 3,000 jobs per 1 billion in warfare. In defense, quote unquote defense. Ain't no defense, it's just military industrial complex. 3,000 jobs. The other two that we have to invest if we are to survive as a nation are education and healthcare. Because if you want to destroy an empire, go ahead and keep them dumb and let them get sick. Okay? So basically, when we looked at the numbers, 11,000 jobs were created per $1 billion invested in healthcare. And I think it was 13,000 jobs per $1 billion invested in education. So it's a no-brainer. Not only that, if we start investing in and renewable energy, which is there. Bernie Sanders have been talking about this for, this man has been fighting for the rights of workers and minorities and everybody, getting arrested in the whole 9 yards during demonstrations for human rights for 30 years. This man has been a champion of good causes. So, if we invest in green renewable energies, there's hundreds of thousands of jobs. Not only that, that has the added effect of decreasing our dependence on fossil fuels. What has caused the most amount of pain, destruction, pollution, warfare? Oil. That's it. So if we take that away, if we take the dependency, we are petroleum junkies. If we stop being petroleum junkies as a nation, as a planet, we have a better chance of getting, saving the planet from all the pollution. I know the right wing doesn't believe in climate change. As their house is getting flooded right now, the first time as there's a sinkhole swallowing their house, there is no climate change. Okay, whatever you say, here's a raft, So, if we have to invest in people who are progressive, who invest in education, healthcare, infrastructure, renewable energy, so that we can get back and track as a species and stopping this predatory nature of this form of capitalism, which is the form of capitalism that the Republicans, right wingers, have been practicing. We need to get away from that. That's corporate socialism. It doesn't work. The so-called trickle-down Reaganomics, it's a scam. It doesn't work. It doesn't matter. Look at this. You give, of the money that each rich person, super rich, I'm talking about the billionaires, how much, what's the percentage of the money that they have that they spend every year? And you'll see that, and you'll see it's very little. Now, the people who work, what's the percentage of the money that they spend every year? I'll tell you right now. I know how much I spend a year, 100% of what I make, and sometimes more. We should put it all in the economy, everything. And they're asking us to give even more to the super rich. And here's the kicker, what I've been thinking. These people are fascists. These people, just like the Nazis, I think their plan that they're trying to do is to kill off all the sick, let them die from lack of medical care, from lack of attention, from poverty, from suicide, all of it. I think these people are trying to do that. The modern Republican Party led by Trump. Think about what they're doing. They're saying one thing, but they're already in Texas suing the government so they can deny coverage to people with pre-existing conditions. They've always been against that. They want to kill the people who are sick. They want them to die. I believe, and the evidence is overwhelming from when you look at it, these people have been trying to destroy education for the poor, health care for everybody, for the sick, and the poor. For me, the way it looks to me, it looks like they're just trying to kill off the sick people. That's what they're trying to do, reduce the population of sick people so they don't have to spend money on it, just like they do with the veterans and the whole 9 yards when they come back from war sick. And they're all deny. So make a decision and make a decision for your children to support democratic socialism, just like Norway, just like Germany, which is the strongest economy, just like Sweden, just like Denmark. They have Finland. They don't have to work 80 hours a week, to survive like we do. It's time that we stop serving a system called predatory capitalism, and we start putting a system called democratic socialism to work for us. We don't have to be a machine that works for a bunch of slaves that works for a system. We should have the system work for us. And I'll end with this. A cousin of mine, he's like, we're going to end up like Haiti. That's funny that you bring up Haiti. Haiti is the most painfully brilliant example of what the predatory nature of capitalism is. Haiti is capitalist. Haiti is 100% capitalist, and you have a very small percentage of the population who hold all the wealth, and the rest are slaves to that population, to that 1%. So that's what these people are trying to do. The modern Republican right-wingers, which I personally consider they're a bunch of fascist, racist, openly racist people. I personally think that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to look at Haiti. Look at what Haiti has been through all these years. That's exactly what they want to take us with predatory capitalism. We need a new form of capitalism. It's called democratic socialism. No, it's not communism. It's not Leninist. It's not Stalinist. It's not Venezuela. It's not Cuba. Those two places, Cuba and Venezuela, are examples of Stalinist, Leninist communism. And they're totalitarian dictatorial regimes. Venezuela having turned into a narco dictatorship. So don't drink the Kool-Aid. Don't let them scare you. Vote for Bernie Sanders. Save your children's future.